Hello folks and welcome to Vertigo Tea Party and let's try Baldur's Gate 2 Enhanced Edition. It's $24.99 on Steam and Beamdog. You can get it for Windows and Mac, and it's supposed to be coming soon, quote unquote, to iPad and Android, tablets only, not phone, which makes sense. One thing I want to note real quick is the Steam version, I think, is only Windows. I only saw the logo for Windows. So you might want to double check that before you purchase it if you are on a Mac and you're buying it via Steam. But there was definitely a Mac download leak on the Beamdog site. I will link both sites in the information below this video. It's developed by Beamdog and published by Atari. So as you can see, it does have the original game, Shadows of Amn. It also has the, I guess, the expansion, Throne of Bhaal, and this Black Pits 2, I guess, is some kind of additional, like, challenge mode where it sounds like you're in a dungeon, you have to fight your way out. So we are actually going to just play the Shadows of Amn. I'm going to skip this. Now, I don't quite understand this. These characters are supposed to come with the game, but, I mean, it just shows them. You can click on it, and it says they're installed. I think these are supposed to be DLC for the iOS and Android versions, but they come bundled supposedly with this game. I'm assuming you get them later because I did not have a choice to start with them, so just FYI. There is multiplayer, I have not tried it, so just FYI. We are going to hop right into single player. I have not actually been playing for 2 days and 8 hours, that is in game time. I probably played about 2 or 3 hours. And short version, the Cliff Notes version of this story is that we were captured and we're actually working our way out of this jail cell trying to find out who our captor is and why he has captured us. We just had this guy join the party here. Yashimo has just joined the party. Now, a few things I want to start off with. This is an old school RPG in about every way it can be an old school RPG. The first thing that is going to be difficult for a lot of folks is the fact that it uses the 2nd edition D&D rules. First of all, the 2nd edition rules are very old. I've played D&D for over 10 years. Yes, I know. I'm a huge nerd. You've figured that out already. But I've played D&D for a long time, and I remember playing 2nd edition rules and looking at some of the stuff now is confusing as all hell. Old rules were terrible. Let's be honest. D&D 2nd edition rules were terrible and extremely convoluted. The game does a pretty crappy job of explaining how this works. So if somebody like myself who is familiar with the old rules and actually played with them, I can't even imagine somebody sitting down today and trying to figure out what all this means. Let me give you 2 examples. Armor class. Normally when you think armor class, you think, okay, it's the number that your enemy has to get over to do damage to you, and the higher the better, right? Not in this game. Armor class, the lower your armor class, the better. So 10 AC is terrible, negative 10 AC is great. I know, makes a hell of a lot of sense. There's also a very important stat called THAC0. It stands for 2 hit armor class 0. Excuse me. And as you can guess, the lower your THAC0, the better. The way you decide if you hit an enemy is it rolls dice behind the curtain. And let me try if I remember this straight. You subtract your THAC0 from their armor. So I have 2 armor class right now, and you subtract their THAC0. So if I was trying to hit myself, I would actually have to get a 13 or better, I believe. I think I'm doing that right, because this is my THAC0, 15, and this is my armor class. What makes this even more ridiculous to keep up with, let's say I find a +1 sword. A +1 sword means that I do my enchants to hit goes up by 1, and the damage goes up by 1. But of course, because we're using the system, a +1 sword actually subtracts 1 from THAC0. How we ever thought this was a good system yeah, is mind-blowing. It's overly complicated, and I know some old school D&D nerds are gonna be like, no, old school D&D was the best. I mean, I loved my old school D&D, but these rules were god-awful. So, I'm not gonna go over every single stat, but let's go over at least the important ones. This is the main character. You can customize your character. I just picked one to see how they were. The stats are pretty even for this. I'm a thief, which is basically a rogue. Thaco, of course, 15 is not great, but that's my base, I believe. Shows your number of attacks, and because of my thief, I have open locks, find traps, pickpockets, move silently, hide in shadows, etc. Now, normally, you're only going to be able to focus on a few things as a thief. A thief has a lot of different skills, so maybe you're really, really good at pickpockets and moving silently, or maybe you're not so good at that, but you're really good at opening locks and finding traps. And you will want a rogue in your party with find traps, by the way, because traps are plentiful, at least so far, and they hurt a lot. So there's that. You have your saving throws. That's relatively self-explanatory. Weapon proficiencies, those determine what weapons that you can use. It's the armor class modifier, not huge deal. Armor class is, negative or -4. I forget what that is. But if we look at our stat sheet here, we can see this character has a 2 armor class, which is actually pretty good starting off. Our current and maximum hit points, our current Thaco, and the damage that we do with that sword. And it does tell you why your Thaco is what it is. So my base Thaco 17, I'm an elf who back then actually got a +1 on swords, which is actually a -1 on swords, and a long sword to hit. I'm not even sure what the hell that means. And it brings my Thaco down to 15, which is not so good. I'm missing a lot, but unfortunately there's not a lot you can do about it. Combat seems to mostly be whiff, 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 hit, whiff, 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 hit, even against goblins and whatnot. And it does change when you swap your weapon out. So if I take that out, see my Thaco drop to 17 and back to 15 from barehanded. You have your armor up here. Various things, slots, which I obviously don't have yet. You have your quiver, your quick weapon, so that you can quickly switch between weapons. Even though if you're holding a shield, you can't switch. You can't have a 2-handed weapon as one of your quick weapons, which is kind of annoying. You can click on your various characters. There's also a little bit of customization in that you can change the color of the armor if you'd like. I did actually change that a bit, but I do like that aspect since you can't really see too much. But they do have some pretty banging helmets, I gotta say. So, another thing I need to get out of the way, and this is going to probably piss off cause some nerd rage. I thought Baldur's Gate was a bad game.
What do you want?
I tried it when it was a new game. I would totally wanted to love it, and I hated it. Alright, we're gonna get into combat here. Oh, I think that went invisible. It tells you what's going on down here, and you can show more information. Alright, so the imp is in here. Obviously not a huge threat to us. By the way, I think you can import your characters from Baldur's Gate 1 Enhanced Edition, and maybe even the original Baldur's Gate. I don't know that. If you're interested in importing a character, I meant to look that up before I started playing, but you might want to look that up. I know originally you can import your Baldur's Gate 1 character to your Baldur's Gate 2 game. So, if I hover over the enemy, it tells you what it is. It's a smoke method. It's uninjured. Now, I've paused the game. You can do everything in real time if you want. And for easier enemies, you generally can get away with that. I'm just going to kind of show you how this works, just so you get an idea of it. You can't make it turn-based. You just basically hit space to pause and unpause. So we're going to get our big guy here, the Ranger Minsk on them. We're going to select all these guys and just left-click, and they'll all attack. Unfortunately, you do have to deal with stuff taking up room, so you can't always walk past, which does make it more realistic. Now there are a lot of auto pause options that I'll show you here very quickly. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that, but it is kind of important that you see it. The gameplay, auto pause, there's a bunch of different options for automatically pausing, which is really good depending on, you can actually change the difficulty as well. So if you're upping the difficulty, you'll probably want to check some of these. I have checked character's target destroyed and trap found, because if I find a trap, I immediately want everybody to stop so that I can find it. I also want to know as soon as enemy dies, because of, even though this is enhanced edition, the graphics aren't always very clear, even though it does tell you down here when something does. There's another enemy in here. What is that? An ice method? Yeah, let's just attack it. Unpause it. I don't know why it pauses twice. Somebody keeps nuking me here. The AI is pretty flaky. Like, sometimes they'll just pick one enemy that they absolutely despise, and they will chase them around the room trying to kill them. Alright, she's going to... since she's kind of hurt, let's go ahead and show some spells. This ice method is badly injured, so we don't bother with that one. This one's uninjured. So, let's see. Let's cast Doom on this one method. Will basically lower its chance to hit. And I don't really need to do that, but again, just kind of showing you how the spells work. There are spell casting times that you have to deal with. And I believe if an enemy hits you while you're casting, they can interrupt the spell. Here you can see what weapon they're attacking with. She's using a bow, when actually she should not be. Go ahead and switch her daggers because she's a rogue. Really, we should close this door. In fact, I'm going to do that. You can also set the AI to be on.
Yes.
All right, let's go ahead and reposition while we wait.
What is it?
Again, we probably don't need to go to this extreme measure fighting. I haven't messed with the slider with the difficulty, but I want to show you, that you can use a little bit more strategic if you would like to. Let's get around this door. But again, you can turn party AI on so that they'll kind of act on their own. I don't ever do it, so looks like I actually might not be able to open the door. So this is kind of our tank. He's a ranger, but alright, so we're gonna let him run in first and take all of the hits. Let's see, did we... oh, no. One enemy turned invisible, so we'll just kill the other one. Here you can see how much damage they're taking by how much red is up. Obviously, if the red goes all the way up, they die. And this is not a newer RPG where once the combat is over, enemy resurrects, they are dead. I don't know of how to resurrect them. Maybe via scroll. So there's probably a raise dead spell. But when they're dead, they're dead. So you definitely want to save often. And you can save anytime that you're not in combat. So let's have everybody focus on one. I'm going to try to get my rogue behind the enemy. You can zoom in a bit. It starts to look a little janky once we get in, but... okay, the target is gone. Alright, so we're starting to get a lot of enemies here. So I'm going to move her back, because she is a dual class. Only humans can dual class. Basically, they stop taking levels in one class and start taking them in another. So let's look at our enemies here. Uninjured. So what I'm going to do... you guys keep fighting that.
Where shall I display my skill and expertise?
You... he's a bounty hunter. We've got like 3 rogues in this. So special... nah, you just stab. You guys all focus on that. I'm going to try to get her behind so that it can kind of backstab. I don't remember if you could backstab with anything but a dagger in this edition. For whatever reason, this pre-made character is a rogue, but has no proficiencies in daggers, which is mind-numbing to me. But down here you have your various abilities. You have rogue, thieving, which is not really useful now. Stealth, which I'm pretty sure we can't stealth because everything sees me. Your spells, if you can cast them. Also, your special abilities based on your class and your specific character. Set snare, not super helpful right now. Well, let's see what we're going to do. You can hover over the spells and see the name of them. You can also right-click on them, and it will tell you what level they are and what it does, how long it lasts, etc. Let's go ahead and actually summon some pals. Summon some monsters right there. Let's see, we're starting to get hurt. So she's our druid. Let's see, actually, I think I used my healing spells.
What is it?
I think she used hers as well. Horror. Yes, let's cast horror on that enemy. Nope, she can't see it. So cast on that guy. As again, spells do take a while, and unfortunately I don't think there's any good way to queue up abilities, so you have to wait until they finish casting, which is kind of a pain in the arse. So one thing I don't like is, let's see, you can tell she has a status effect here. Here it is, sleep. I wish when you hover over it, it would tell you what that effect is. Eventually you'll learn all the icons, but there's a lot of different, and some are obvious, like the green skull and crossbones are poison, obviously. So these things are actually kind of nasty. Let's see, I don't know what spell this thing has been affected by. You need to... You can also... We do have healing potions, so I think, in fact, I'm going to have them use them. Oh, wow. Thought he had some healing potions, but apparently he doesn't. Oh. Okay, so we've got our goblins summoned, which is actually going to help because they'll absorb at least some of the power, or some of the damage. So we've killed one. Oh, actually that might be all of them. Oh. Yes. No. There's a smoke method. One problem I have is that sometimes it's hard to see who your enemies are and who are your allies. I think these guys are Horde. Yes, okay, because I cast Horror, that's right. I thought that was like a single target spell, but apparently it's AE, which is great. One thing you do have to look out for, a lot of spells will affect both your party and enemies. Alright, now, so this could be kind of annoying as they fly around. Oh, Jesus. Alright, let's just forget those. Let's go back to killing this. And let's get the rogue behind. I'm pretty sure you can only do sneak attack damage from behind. This guy's barely injured. No, badly. Yeah, barely injured. Alright, goblins are shooting the ones with arrows. What are you doing? Attack this, please. I kind of want to turn on AI because sometimes I find my guys just standing around doing nothing. Alright, so we've killed that smoke method. We still got these two guys running amok. There's also buffs, all kind of AEs and holds that you can cast. Web being one of my favorite spells of all time. But that's mostly good if you have a range. Oh, let's get this guy. Those guys are still horrified. Some spells are obviously incredibly good. Let's get behind this guy again. But as you can see, sometimes stuff takes a long time to die. That one went invisible. So, and you can also select your party members by pressing a button like I can press 2, and it selects my mage warrior. Ouch. Man. Oh, you know what? Shit, I think we're supposed to be... My bad. I think we're actually supposed to be trying to close these. I don't know... Okay, my thing... There we go. I hid that if you want to, which doesn't seem like a good idea. The portal is badly injured. I don't really know how that works. Let's actually get you come over here and help me. Because I think something I missed when I first came in was they were talking about... Well, just all of you get over here. They were talking about these portals appear to be causing more and more of these to come in. So I thought that would be... I had actually forgotten about that from the time I had started recording. So you can see a lot of those methods disappear around you. So I think this one might be the same. Let's just forget them and kill the rest. Let's see. You really need to be healed. And he has no healing potion. Wow, that was really good by him.
What is it?
I'll go ahead and drink another healing potion. Healing potions are your lifeblood. Quite literally, I guess, in this case.
Live by the sword. Live a good long time.
He is quite amusing.
Yes?
You can also hit 0 to select everyone, but I want all of them to attack except him. I want him to run away. Because he's very low on health. Oddly enough, he does some of our best damage too. It's kind of funny that rangers in this game are mostly dual wield or two hand. They can also do range, but it's not really their preference. Come on, you guys. Destroy this portal like today, preferably.
Without doubt.
Oh, he killed the method at least. Finish off this portal. There we go. This method should disappear.
It will be done.
Alright, so we're in pretty bad shape. What I'm going to do... Get everybody in here. I think. You like passed out? Oh, she's asleep. We're gonna wait for sleep to wear off, and then we're gonna go back to sleep actually. But since I mentioned Baldur's Gate 1 and not liking it, I don't want to go on it. But the main reason I didn't like it was it felt like it was artificially difficult due to bad AI and what class you chose. For example, I remember there's like the first guy you run into, you've got like 1 or 2 party members. He's super strong and he ignores everybody but your character. So you can run in circles and the enemies and your party members are just beating on him and he just completely ignores them and comes for you. Which you can exploit that to beat the encounters, but that was really cheesy, and I felt like I really disliked that aspect. It was like a lot of the encounters seemed like they were specifically designed that A, you were playing certain classes, or B, you were just supposed to cheese the AI to win. So I got really bored and frustrated with Baldur's Gate, so I never played Baldur's Gate 2 originally. Though I've heard Baldur's Gate is much, much better. So I think we've used up all our healing spells. Let's go ahead and rest. We'll talk about healing. Now you think, okay, I'm resting. Everybody's gonna be fine and their health is gonna be good. And, oh, wait, no, their health is still terrible. Now you can keep resting and they'll keep healing. Like this guy's got 6 hit points right now. Wow. Apparently doesn't heal much. Healing in D&D 2nd edition was a huge pain in the arse. You would have to rest weeks in order to heal. As you can see, he got 1 hit point back. So what you want to do is either use potions, which they've been pretty generous with potions so far. In fact, I'm going to open this up. And you do have weight limits, so definitely keep those in mind. I don't know how to split. I cannot figure out how to split. You can right-click on anything to get a description, where it be a spell or an item. It'll tell you the stats. It'll tell you who cannot use it. It'll give you a little background information on it. But I do not know how to split potions, so you will just have to drink. We're going to take a few drinks. Wow, and that did almost nothing. So we're actually going to use her, our druid. And again, you're about to see how slow and painful healing in D&D was. So cure serious wounds. This is a higher level spell. Let's see how much it heals. 16 to 33. So what was like 17 hit points? Not a lot. Now the way the spells work in D&D is this. Again, this is going to seem very bizarre to people who didn't play it, and frankly it was a bad system that I never liked even when I was playing it. So let's go to our mage. Let's look at our spells. Every level you can memorize X number of spells, again based on your level. So I think Imawin is level 9 or level 10, so she gets 4 level 1 spells, 4 level 2 spells, 3 level 3s, 2 level 4s. Now you can see here all of your spells that you had, all your level 1 spells, and you can see the ones that we have memorized here. So if I want to see what a spell is, let's see, Burning Hands. What does that do? I right-click it, tells me the level, and it explains, how much damage, which probably should show the damage up there, but that's fine. But it tells you the damage, and again, most spells have at least some kind of scaling with your level. Like they'll do an additional D6 every 5 levels or something like that. So pay attention to that, because sometimes you're like, oh, that's a crappy spell. But then you realize, oh, I'm starting off at level 10. So it's actually not too bad. So spells do scale in a way. Now, when you cast a spell, it is gone until you rest. Like we just rested for 8 hours or whatever it was. So there's no mana. There's no concept of mana in D&D 2nd edition. You cast a spell, it's gone. So if I get into a fight and I cast Magic Missile is gone. What you can do is, let's say I don't really want armor. Oops. Don't want armor. I'll left click it to I'll undo it. Let's say, you know what, I really like magic missile, so I want a second magic missile. So you can actually, you know, memorize magic missile 4 times. And, you know, the same goes for all your other spells. For some reason, she doesn't have a 4th level 2 spell. And we'll just pick something up. Stinking Cloud. Stinking Cloud's a really fun spell to use. And some of these AE spells are ridiculously good. So you'll want to learn which ones are and how to use them. Stinking Cloud being one of them. And I'll try to use it just so you get an idea of what these big spells look like. So I never liked the spell system, frankly. But a lot of these spells are really good, and it's very easy to rest, so it's not really a big deal in terms of your actual gameplay. And as far as I could tell, as long as I'm in a combat, not in combat, and one of my characters isn't like poisoned or taking ongoing damage, you can rest, get your spells back, or, you know, swap your spells around. So I also leveled, or at least I've got enough level XP to level. So I wanted to show you that because I actually haven't tried it yet. She's my thief. This is my character. So, all right, now I'm going to have to remember how this works because, again, it's been a very long time and D&D has changed a lot. And one of my big complaints about this is it does a really piss poor job of explaining things. I hope there's some kind of manual. But see, here's the thing. I realize this is a enhanced edition of a very old game. Old games like this tended to do very piss poor jobs of explaining things. But it was under the understanding that either you understood the rules or you read the rule book that came with it. Well, it's 2013. The good games will teach you the basic mechanics either through tooltips or, you know, or however else. So in my opinion, they should have done a better job because, again, frankly, if you haven't played Baldur's Gate and if you don't remember the 2E rules, a lot of this stuff is going to be very weird and very counterintuitive to you. So just kind of an FYI. Now, proficiency slot 0, skills 25. Again, it has been so long. I don't think I get a new proficiency slot. Okay. Proficiency slots, again, that that helps, or that determines what weapons that you can use. You can also, I believe, put additional proficiency slots in items so that you become better at using them. And the way that what that translates to in game terms is, let's say I put another proficiency in longsword. That means instead of getting a +1 to swords, which is actually a -1, you would actually get a +2, which is actually a -2. Now, your skills, now I think this is rogue specific. I can pick where I want my skills to go. Pickpockets, open locks, find trap, etc. This is what I was talking about earlier where you decide what kind of rogue you want to be. Do you want to focus on, you know, staying in shadows and pickpocketing and backstabbing? Or do you want to focus on traps? Do you want to focus on locks? Or do you want to be kind of okay at everything? Which, personally, I don't like that. I like to pick a few things and just be very good at them. Especially because we actually have 2 rogues in this party. So we can actually cover everything. And I really like having 2 rogues in a party in old school D&D so that, again, you can kind of have all your bases covered. So we're not going to play that long. We'll go traps. As again, you can see we can just keep putting points in it. Make her incredibly good at finding traps, which is totally unnecessary because the one lady, whatever her name is, already has find traps. But, except, and every 4 levels, I believe it's 4 levels, you get a stat point. And luckily, this actually does work logically. The higher stat points, the better. Surprised they didn't do it. I want a strength of -20 so that my strength is better. Though, there is a very weird thing you'll see with strength. This is only with strength. If you have an 18 strength, there are sub-numbers between 0 and 100 that you can roll, which increases your strength. 1893 is actually really, really good. I think that's just 1 level below 1800, which, believe it or not, is actually the best that you can get, at least at level 18. I know. It's convoluted. Trust me, I know. So let's go ahead and level her up too. She's our multi-class fruit, and again, only humans can multi-class. I personally am not a big fan of multi-classing, but at least it's the option is there. See, she actually has 2 proficiency spots in club, so I believe she's actually... Oh, no, okay. Proficient is 1 slot. The character can use the weapon with no penalties. Specialized, the character receives +1 to hit, +2 to damage, and for warriors only, an extra 1/2 attack per round with a selected weapon. I forget how that works. Now you can also... Oh, okay, you can actually put more and more in it. Some classes can go up past 2, some cannot. Again, it depends on which class you pick. So yes, it can be a little bit confusing. So she has really nothing that she can spend anything on. So we'll just say accept. But she does get more hit points, better saving throws. I think every X number of levels her Thaco goes up, etc., etc. So let's go ahead and go in. We'll see if we can't get into one more fight. Again, you can quick save as often as you want, and I strongly suggest that you do. So we'll go around. We will actually have... He's actually still hurting pretty badly. Let's go ahead. We'll give him... We have a inventory slots. Yes, I hate throwing things away, as you can tell. Let's just drink these. Again, I'm probably not going to play anything beyond what I show. If I do decide to play this, I will probably start with a whole new character. Go ahead and you drink as well. Get them a little bit better on their health. It's kind of, it's still, I found it amusing that my tank is the ranger. So we are going to tell both of our rogues to go into find traps mode. It does take a while. You don't just automatically just find the traps all the time. Sometimes you do want to select that and then kind of stand still for a bit to find those traps. And again, you want to disarm them because the traps are nasty. So we found our first ring, a gold ring. I think there's probably no special stats on that. And because it is old school D&D, when you find a magic item, you know it's a magic item. However, you need a spellcaster or a scroll in order to identify it. I think you can wield it if it's not identified, though. Gold ring, no stats on it. We'll go ahead and just put it on. Makes me look good. That's what matters when you're adventuring, is that you look good. Go look around. Now, this little finger with the ring that you see there, that just means you can loot. Just gonna click this on here. Wand of Summoning Key. We actually need that as well, because we've been collecting these strange wand keys. I'm gonna start dropping these halberds on the ground. We've been finding a lot of items, and unfortunately, because we're in a prison, not a lot of people to sell them to, oddly enough. What is this? A bolts. Go and grab it. I can't help myself, even though I know I'm not going to keep this character. Go ahead and grab that very important key item.
Without doubt. Yes.
Oh.
Carve. No. This is an illusion, a dream. A bad dream. Where are the mirrors, the switches to pull to show where he's hidden? Khalid! Damn you!
Now, you see, some stuff is voice acted, most of it is not. So, those of you who don't like reading a lot of quest texts, then that might be a downer for you. There's also a lot of books that I found that give background on the lands and just basically the lore of the world that you're in. So if you're into that, there definitely so far has been a pretty good bit of that. And the options are kind of old school. You're a nice person or you're just a total jerk. Being a total jerk, I haven't noticed a big difference. I mean, people will react to you a little differently if you're a jerk to them, but it so far hasn't made a difference. I do think later on, though, if you start doing things like stealing, some party members might not like that. I do remember that being a problem in Baldur's Gate 1, because they had like a paladin, I think, and paladins, oddly enough, are not crazy with you stealing stuff being lawful good. Yeah, so you can basically say, this isn't real, is it? He couldn't be dead. This is Khalid. What has happened to him? Or you can go with, looks like the fool finally got himself killed. We won't be doing that. No more words. Words are nothing. I knew him not, but I mourn for your loss. Stranger, nobody. I will not hear your words. Leave me. A brave man has fallen here, but there is no cause to hurl insults at the living. Here, who shall comfort you? Minx, obviously very popular, has the hamster named or gerbil. I forget what it is. Imbecile! Affront to nature! What do you and your rodent know? What can you know? No words, no more words. Save your speeches, save your proverbs. The only voice I wish to hear is dead. No more. No. No. Sylvanus, guide the light to the source. Take this man to what he justly deserves. By nature's will, what was given is returned. What was turmoil is now peace. Khalid of my heart, let my love guide the way. We must hurry before we are noticed. We must get out of this grave and seek the light above. Let us go. Well, she kind of got over that quick. That was interesting. Let's see. Let's see. That was a short mourning period. I guess you weren't that close after all. You will not speak ill of my life with Khalid. I'll answer such insults with lethal intent, and rightfully so. You cannot. You cannot. I'll mourn according to what I believe. His death is horrible, but I am still trapped. We are still in danger. Basically said something nice. Blah blah. There we go.
Speak. Something up?
Kira, I want to say how sorry I am about Khalid. I know this is hard.
No! You do not know. This is not the time for this conversation, child.
Stop calling me child. I am as old as Lessa, and besides, I can tell you that Khalid did not suffer. What are you babbling about, Evian? I am not in the mood. I am not babbling. I saw him do this. Khalid was dead when our captor started, doing those things to him. You saw this? You watched as it was done? He showed me. He cut and showed me. He forced my eyes open and made me look as he... Stop! I don't want to hear this. He said I should see, so I would understand, but I don't know what he wanted. He would cut and say, do you see? Cut and say, do you see? Be quiet, child. No more.
Yes?
Okay. Now, I believe in the first game, too, you did have to be careful because sometimes party members would leave and you could not stop them. So keep that in mind. And as you can tell, again, very text-heavy, very story-heavy based RPG. I mean, it is an RPG. Wow, getting so many of these wands. It is insane. I think I will probably play for just a little bit longer. Again, I think you guys get the idea. Let's just start cracking this crap. I was hoping to get a town, but this area actually lasted much longer than I thought. And again, you can see how much weight you're carrying and how much total weight they can carry there. And of course, different classes can wear different types of armor. That's... Grab the key. I'm not gonna bother anything else. You've got tons of arrows, luckily. Alright.
Time to move?
Go ahead and be detecting traps. You can also use function keys for these various abilities. But save again because
it will be done.
I'm gonna save. Oh. Whoa. Come on, assassin.
If I have to fight to get out of here, so be it.
In these tight quarters, it might be best to actually switch some of your guys to range. Oh, wow. Jeez. What a jerk. That'll teach him. And sometimes when you do a lot of damage, like you kill an enemy with a big stroke, they'll actually just explode and give, which is pretty damn awesome. Buckler and a short sword. No thanks. Kill a few more methods. Let's switch her actually to the bow so that she's not up there in the way. Again, against these methods, it's not really a big deal. And of course, we didn't get a chance to attack. Oh, here we go. All right, perfect time to use Thinking Cloud. You always do have to remember, though, that all these spells have a cast time. Well, actually, first, let's cast one of my favorite spells of all time in D&D land. Web. But you, again, web is one of those spells you have to be careful because it does hit your own guys, and it also makes a very annoying noise. Let's go with, where is that cloud? Did I? Here it is, Thinking Cloud. It also, you'll notice, doesn't show you an AE range when you select it. You just basically say, I want to cast it here, and hope for the best. And we definitely don't want to get hit by this cloud. So everyone be attacking these. Unfortunately, this person is going to walk right into... Let's go ahead and switch. So you will be using the bow and arrow. You don't have a ranged weapon. you
I
do.
am ready.
She's got a slingshot, which doesn't seem like a great weapon, but it actually is pretty decent. Alright. This is always fun when they're stuck in a poison cloud and getting webbed. So again, let's pick our ranged.
Ready and willing.
And finish off these goblins with very little danger to ourselves. Actually tearing them up pretty good. I think this cloud only does, like... It only knocks him unconscious. Yeah, it knocks him unconscious. I don't think there's anybody else I can hit from here, probably. So you don't want to get in it, because again, it will do damage to you. Okay, good. He can hit them from there. So they're unconscious and held by the webbing, which is pretty awesome. See, can you get them? Yep, there we go. Now you see why I love AE spells like Web. Makes it very easy to take these enemies out. And you also saw how difficult it can be to heal. So that's why it's good to do that. Now, the web and the smoke, I don't think those always end right when you're ending combat. I think that was just a huge coincidence. Or maybe not. Maybe it was smart to know that that was all the enemies around. So it didn't make me just stand there waiting for the web and the smoke to disappear. The web might not make sense to you because, like, if I walked in there, I would suddenly be webbed. It's supposed to be the web is just a constant thing that's always there, and you have to make saving throws to get through it. It's not like a grenade that it keeps exploding and getting webbing all over the place like Spider-Man might use. So anyway, that is Baldur's Gate 2 Enhanced Edition. As far as what I like, what I don't like, I've mentioned my big concern, especially for folks who have never played D&D before, is a lot of this stuff is not going to make sense. Hell, I've played D&D. It's been over 10 years since I've played 2nd edition, and a lot of stuff was Greek to me. I actually had to look some of it up again, like the THACO and AC and how all that formula worked. So it does a really piss poor job of explaining a system that is very confusing. But you know, the good parts, it's an old school RPG. There are parts to the spell system that I like. You have to be a little bit more careful. For example, you can't just throw a fireball in the middle of your party, or they will take damage, or a web,
If we're going to
or
do nothing,
anything.
let's at least find
Alright,
a
shut
safer
up.
place to do it.
So they don't talk. So there's a lot more strategy, and obviously with some other RPGs, like with Dragon Age 2, which was terrible, on the harder difficulties, the AEs actually did hit your party. But you do have to do a lot more planning, especially because the spells aren't instant cast. But the spells you do have often are very, very good. And as you saw, the webbing there, I didn't even need the little smoke. The webbing made that encounter incredibly easy, when otherwise it might have been difficult. So if you like some of these old school RPGs with more complexity, it's frankly some of it unnecessary, then obviously this is going to be the game for you. Baldur's Gate 2 has a fantastic reputation. One of these days I might actually play through this and give it a chance, even though I didn't like the first game. So, you know, again, make your decision. Know that it's missing a lot of the modern bells and whistles that you might be used to, and this is going to be more difficult than your average RPG. So just be aware of that before you jump in and learn to use that quick save. And again, worst case scenario, you can change the difficulty. It's actually pretty low right now. That's just whatever it was at the default. You can pump that up or down, you know, depending. If you just want to play and see the story, you can probably jump the difficulty down and not have too much issue. Not have to worry about pausing, reposition guys. But if you pump up the difficulty, I'm going to guess that you're going to have to do a lot of making sure your party members are in the right place, that your rogues aren't getting hit, and that they are taking advantage of sneak attack damage. So anyway, rambled on enough about this. Definitely check it out if you'd like. Unfortunately, there isn't a demo. $24.99 I think is probably a decent price. because I believe the game is pretty darn long, especially if you have a tendency to do side quests and explore and all that. I'm still in the prison area, and I've probably played about 3 or 4 hours, I would say, maybe about 3 hours. So it probably get a lot of time in it. On the flip side, it is an older game. Yes, I understand it's enhanced edition, so it looks better and all that, but some things weren't enhanced that I think probably should have been. At any rate, thank you guys for watching. As always, leave comments, let me know what you're thinking. Like my videos if you like them. And if this is your first video, make sure to subscribe if you'd like to see more Let's Try videos like this. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.